Welcome back to another edition of the Fried Egg Golf Podcast. I am Andy Johnson, and we've got a jumbo podcast. This wasn't going to be this long, but we got talking about the Nebraska Sand Hills, and it kept going. But we've got two segments here. We have our own Fried Eggs, Matt Rouches, who just went on a 6-day golf trip through the Nebraska Sand Hills. It was a lot of golf in it. I wanted to have him on just to talk about his trip and just the whole golf scene there. And then that ended up being a lot longer conversation. And I also recorded last week a interview with Clear Creek's superintendent, Mike Cunniff, a Coore and Crenshaw design in the Sierra Nevada mountains. It's a really cool golf course and just a different place for a golf course. Not a place that you would equate to world-class golf, but Clear Creek is a awesome golf course up there that was very high on the list of golf courses that I wanted to see. I wanted to see kind of Coore Crenshaw in a wildly different environment and setting than we're used to seeing them work in, and it was a delight. Mike is world-class. I texted Bill Coore because he was out there the weekend before that. I was, jokingly following him around. And he himself called out Mike's work there, and especially the native, what they do there. The presentation of the golf course is extraordinary. So talk to Mike about his time there as well as Old Sandwich in the back half of this podcast. One thing, if you're watching this on YouTube, Mike's interview I did in person. I did not have a camera set up. I haven't gotten to that stage of my production quality where I can solo set up a 2-interview camera system. Maybe next year. Maybe I'll have Cameron teach me or Matt teach me. So we'll lead with the Nebraska Sand Hills. Matt Rouches, our very own Matt Rouches, who's been doing a lot of editorial work for us on top of the video production, and has seen a lot of great golf courses this year. O to B in your mid-20s. He's living a good life of golf courses. So talk to Matt, and then we kicked it to Mike Cunniff in the second half of the podcast. Today's episode is brought to you by Toro. Moving people around comfortably and efficiently is an important job for any golf property, and for other sprawling places like campuses, event spaces, and municipalities. The new Toro Vista is perfect for all of them. Available in gas or lithium-ion battery, 4, 6, and 8 passenger models. This powerful people mover works as hard as a truck but rides like a limousine. God, I was thinking about limousines, and this is going to date me. I can't believe how cool riding a limousine was in the 90s. So anyways, it rides like in a limousine and is sure to impress guests no matter the venue. Limousines have gone by the wayside. I feel like we need limousines to come back. I'm sure it will. The Toro Vista, not a limousine, a great thing for a golf course, a campus, whatever it may be to move people around. Its polar bear white body makes customization a breeze too. So the Vista can pull double duty as a rolling billboard while getting folks from point A to point B on point. God, it sounds like the Fried Egg needs a Toro Vista. Your golf course or campus definitely does. Visit toro.com/golf and reach out to your local Toro distributor for more information. Thanks to Toro. Let's get to the podcast. Here's Matt Rouches, followed by Mike Cunniff. All right, we're bringing on our own Matt Rouches. I got to say, last week I had a bit of extreme envy. I was jealous. Really, the last 2 weeks of your life, I've been very jealous of. I've been missing my days in my 20s when I could just go anywhere I wanted without repercussion. So you went on a Sandhills journey last week. You live in Denver area, and you got in your car and you just drove out. And I think it's not too much to say all you did was just play golf.
Yeah, that's quite literally what I did. It was little over 1,200 miles total round trip. And I played 14 golf courses in 6 days. And probably about by the time I got to the 10th or 11th course, I was like, man, why did I decide to do this? This seemed like a good idea on paper, but it really started to wear on me. But at the end of the day, it was a tremendous golf trip to be able to see basically every single golf course in the Nebraska Sand Hills that's worth seeing. So it was an awesome trip.
So let's break it down. 14 golf courses in 6 days. Give us the rundown of the golf courses. And if you don't mind, just like highlight which ones are public.
So I started visiting the newest golf course in the Sand Hills, which is a part of the Dormy Network. It is Grable Club. It's a David McClay kid design. It's a private course. And then right after that, I ventured down I-80 to Awari Dunes, which was built in 2011 by Jim Eng. And that is a public golf course. Really wild, crazy greens that you won't see anywhere else on any other golf course. Just some like very, very extreme stuff. And this is actually probably the only course on the south side of I-80 from this trip. And it's like this little pocket of sand dunes. Most of the Nebraska Sand Hills is north of I-80 and in like more of that central Nebraska area. This is pretty far east and south of I-80. And then from there, I went on a 9-hole course tour day where I played 4 9-hole courses. Starting in North Platte, you go up through Stapleton, Nebraska, which is Augusta Wind, which is a really, really cool 9-hole course that some farmers and ranchers literally just went out into this field, started hitting golf balls around to see where their balls were landing to lay out the golf course. And it is easily one of my favorite 9-holers from this trip. It's so cool. Their budget is $12,000 to maintain the golf course. And it is just an incredible piece of land with some really fun, quirky golf holes. And then from there, you just drive north up to Thedford. Thedford has a delightful course. There's about 3 or 4 holes that play up into the Sand Hills. The rest are kind of on flatter ground and some trees. And then from there, you go west to Mullen, which is where Sand Hills is technically located. But in the town, there's a golf club that's been there since 1924, which I think is probably the oldest course in the Sand Hills. The current layout is a 1938 design, but that's just a really fun, more traditional styled golf course, but it plays on some cool rolling land. Nothing too crazy or extreme, but just some really delightful golf holes and very, very well kept. The old Mullen football coach, the legendary Mr. Brown, who goes by Coach and has a very distinct handlebar mustache, is the one who is the caretaker of the course. He does a tremendous job. He gets some help from the Sand Hills crew, which is cool. And then from there, you keep going west about another 30 minutes. A thing about this 9-hole trip is each drive is only 30 minutes on the highway. And these drives are just incredible. You're just staring at these towering sand dunes the whole time you're driving from course to course. And they're only 30 minutes apart from each other. So it's really easy to play 36 holes in a day between these 4 courses. But the last stop is Pelican Beach, which is in the town of Hyannis.
That place,
and yeah, it is extremely cool. So Dave Axlin and Dan Proctor helped lay out and guide the locals on what to build at this golf course, but they didn't do any of the building themselves. They basically told them, kind of gave them a plan on what to do, what they thought they should do, and then the locals in this town just laid it out.
It's a little Alistair McKenzie with Morecambe and Russell down in Australia.
Yeah. Basically,
so shades of that.
But the funny part about the name is like, why would it be called Pelican Beach? Well, there's a huge pond on the north side of the course. And during the opening day, some pelicans from that pond flew over the golf course. and you can regularly see pelicans in that little body of water there. So that's how it got its name. But that's a really cool course that plays on this big side hill. Just some really awesome golf holes, some really cool greens, and one of the I think it's probably the best of the 4 9-holers that I just highlighted, and very well conditioned as well.
Yeah, I visited that golf course. They went through a really bad winter a couple years ago when we were doing the Sand Hills turf documentary, and they had gone through extreme winter kill. So it's great to hear that the turf's back, because you wondered like what was going to become of that golf course. I think we're at the halfway point of your trip here, or maybe not even.
Almost
halfway. We're 6 of 14. You've got we'll take a real quick break. You have a real unique history with the Sand Hills. You went to the University of Illinois. You're a fellow Illini, the well-educated man, if I may say so myself. But then after college, you did the turf internship program that we actually documented. You lived in the Sand Hills for a couple months of your life. Did the Ballyneal Sand Hills turf documentary. So while we're here, what's your favorite part about being in the Sand Hills as someone who has lived there?
Yeah, so the Sand Hills is such a unique place just because it's so remote. And in the town of Mullen, there's one restaurant. They got a 24-hour gas station. Yeah,
Reds?
Big Reds. Probably got like an $8 steak you can get there or something like that. But
I think the burgers are $4.
It's just a very, very unique place. It's like traveling to another world almost, because you're within these like amazing towering dunes, an awesome like geological landscape that's extremely rare, one of a kind. And then you just like in this tiny little town with a bunch of people who will treat you like family, like some of the best down to earth, nicest people in the world. But it's just so unique. Like when I moved there a few years prior, they got a 24-hour gas station, and it was like the talk of the town. Like they could not get over the fact that they had this 24-hour gas station so that you could actually like go get a gas station breakfast before you go to work. So that kind of puts it into perspective. Is just like, it's so small. Everyone knows everyone. When you're driving on the roads throughout the entire Sand Hills, every car you pass will like wave to you. They'll put up a couple fingers and wave to you as you pass by, just because most people just assume like if you're driving in the Sand Hills, you're probably a local and it's probably someone you know. So it's just a really small, like tight-knit community. Everyone knows what everyone else is doing. Rumors get around fast in these towns, but it's a really neat place and extremely like kind of shocking cultural experience to spend 5 or 6 months there living there.
Honestly, it's like one of my favorite places to visit. I was so happy when we did that project that we got to spend time like in the town, and it wasn't just like, I think like most people's view of the Sand Hills is they go to like Dismal River or Sand Hills or Prairie Club and they spend their time there. But spending time in the town, getting to know some of the people, it is like, it's so cool. And I think like one of the testaments to like, everybody talks about the golf course at Sand Hills, but why it's worked so well there is the buy-in from the town of Mullen into the golf course, and how the golf course, the whole facility is a family, and the family is the town of Mullen. That's what makes it work, and they're wonderful, nice people. It reminds me a little bit, having been to Ireland now, like of Ireland, like rural Ireland in where you just have these little towns and these majestic dunes and the nicest people in the world. It is like, to me, like kind of like America's Ireland. And what's neat, as you're highlighting here, I don't think this golf trip is for everybody, but this is one of the great American golf trips that you can make. And it is cheap. There are a lot of accessible golf courses. And I know a lot of people think about this area and think of it as Sand Hills, Dismal River, now Cap Rock and Grey Bowl. but there is a tremendous value golf trip that is kind of like an unmatched value golf trip. Like, if you put together Augusta Wind and Pelican Beach into an 18-holer, I mean, is that one of the best public golf courses in the country?
I think so. It would be incredible too. Like the two are fairly different on like the terrain. They both kind of play over big hills with all these little ripples and small contours inside there. But yeah, that would be a pretty amazing 18-hole golf course if you combine them.
So let's carry on. So you had your 9-hole day, your 36-hole 9-hole day. Where do we go next?
From there, I went into the town of Mullen and stayed with a friend of mine who is now the assistant superintendent at Sand Hills, and then drove down to Dismal River bright and early the next morning. There's 36 holes at Dismal River Club. One Tom Doak design built in 2013, the red course, and then a Jack Nicklaus design that was built in 2006, which is the white course. The white course is on this very, very extreme terrain, probably I would say the most extreme land out of any of the courses I played on this trip. There's some really, really fun golf holes that are incredibly like severe terrain. There's some big cart rides between some of the certain holes. So you're certainly not walking out at Dismal White. But to put it in perspective,
I'm kind of disappointed that you didn't walk.
I don't think I would have survived if I tried to walk it.
You wouldn't have made it through the 36-hole day?
Certainly not. But the white course, on the other hand, is still on very severe land, but it kind of pales in comparison to the white course. And this is a much tighter routing, kind of an ingenious routing that plays up the hill and then back down. And then the back nine plays down towards the Dismal River, which kind of has this like canyon-y feel where there's a huge, massive ridge line playing on the backside of all these holes. So it's a pretty cool backdrop for all the holes on the back nine. But there's some world-class par threes or par fours out at the red course, some really good golf holes. The 17th is this really cool hole with a blind tee shot that like just tumbles down this hill like 40, 50 yards downhill. And it's a really neat one. And the unique thing about that one is the start and finish are not close to each other at all. So it's kind of like a golf course that feels like a journey where you start kind of towards the center of the routing, you work up the hill, back down the hill, and then finish kind of down on the river away from the rest of the golf course.
So do they cart people around?
So both the red and white course are quite a distance from the clubhouse. The clubhouse sits up high on this bluff, and you can see a lot of the red course from it. But then the white course is like set back far into these like big dunes. The entire property for the white course is like down in a bowl of these massive dunes. But the white course is probably like a 6 or maybe 7 to 10 minute cart ride from the clubhouse. And then the red course is probably like just under 5-minute cart ride from the clubhouse. So it's just massive properties. All these courses are very large scale and quite spread out, kind of like Sand Hills. Sand Hills is a 5 to 6 minute cart ride from the clubhouse, which is cool because these courses are like set off on their own. There's no buildings really around them, and you really feel like you're out there in the middle of nowhere.
Can I ask you a question about the white course that I've always wondered? What's the deal with the windmill hole? Is the windmill in play? I've seen pictures of this, and I need to know.
Very much in play.
How does the hole work with it? So for people that haven't seen this picture, there's like a windmill in front of the green, right?
So there's a little cluster of bunkers, probably about 30 yards short of the green. Is it a par 5 or par 4? So it's a big downhill par 5. It's like close to 600 yards from the back tee. But there's kind of like a lowland native area all along the left, and the hole kind of dog legs around it. And then up by the green, it's kind of like a Z-shaped fairway where there's a little bit of landing zone to the left of the windmill and like bunkers. But when you're like, if you're going for the green in two, you're standing in the fairway and the windmill is directly in front of the green, just like square in front of the green. So you would have to like either hit a cut or draw around it, depending on kind of the trajectory that your ball's coming in at. And then the green is also kind of in line with that. So if you want to lay up and bail out to the right, you have to kind of hit it pretty far to the right and come in to the green at a more shallow angle. So it is a quite unique hole. I would love to.
Are you in or out? Are you in or out on the windmill?
The hole's fine. It has a pretty cool green, but I don't know. It is confusing when like you get to your ball and you're like, wait, I just got to go like straight at the windmill. It is a bit confusing, but it's an interesting hole to say the least.
So we're 8 courses in now. 36-hole day at Dismal. Where do we go
From
next?
here, you're crossing time zones. So this area of the country is right on the Mountain Time, Central Time zone split. So you got to
be on it. You got to understand with your tee times.
Well, a pro tip here: if you travel to this area, you have to manually set the time zone on your phone, or else it will screw up your whole day. Because one of the days I woke up an hour early at 3:45 instead of 4:45 because I forgot to set my time zone manually. So if you're in the area, when you're in Mullen, it's Mountain Time zone.
Because you might not get service,
so in
right?
Mullen, it's Central or Mountain Time zone. And when you go north to Valentine, which was the next stop on the trip, you go into Central Time zone. So
real quick question. You're driving around, spotty service. What were you listening to? Did you download stuff? Were you ready to go? Because your Spotify there doesn't always work.
I had a few podcasts downloaded for most of the trips. And then just some music that was on my phone. I went with
any music tips? What were
this
you
one,
listening
I went with
to?
the shuffle all on my entire playlist. So I was going with the eclectic, just you don't know what you're going to get. I mean, I probably have a few thousand songs downloaded on my phone. So it's just very eclectic listening experience on the roads of the Sandhills.
What's your rec? What's the rec of music that you're probably skew a little younger than the pod listeners? How can some pod listeners be hip to what the kids are listening to these days? What's a rec?
My all-time favorite band at the time right now is an Australian-based band called the Parcels. They kind of made their name. Yeah,
I like the Parcels.
Yeah, they made their name in Berlin. That's kind of where they moved to Berlin from Australia to kind of chase the music dream. And I recently saw them at Red Rocks. It was their biggest show that they ever performed at Red Rocks. So that is a great rec. They play basically indie pop music. They do have some like kind of more upbeat electronic indie pop style stuff, but they make really good music, really groovy, great road tripping music.
Yeah, that's I like their music. It's a good rec. All right, so you're going to Valentine.
So I go north. It's about a little over an hour from Mullen to Valentine, and I went to the public resort of Prairie Club. The way that they set up, really cool spot. But the way they set it up is one of their courses each day is a member course, and the other course is a public course. So they have a fair amount of members. I'm not sure the exact number, but each day the private course flip-flops. So it kind of forces you to go there for 2 days if you want to see both courses. But both courses are very different. One of them is the Pines and the other is the Dunes. The Dunes, as the name suggests, plays through some massive towering dunes, very severe land, and has some enormous blowout bunkers, probably the biggest blowout bunkers out of any of these courses, just enormous, like the 18th hole at Sand Hills on almost every hole, just these enormous bunkers, which is very cool visually. And then the Pines course, as the name suggests, plays through mostly pines and closer to the Snake River Canyon. So the Snake River Canyon is kind of this unique geological, I guess, landform for the region, because mostly you just see these big sand dunes.
I mean, that goes all through this state, like through the Sandhills, right? Because the Sandhills lodging at Sandhills Golf Club is on the Snake River, right? So that runs all the way up through
Dismal
Valentine.
River, in Mullen down south.
Oh,
Yeah,
that's the Dismal
this
River.
up
Okay.
north is a little bit different.
See,
But there's also a lot of like wildlife refugees around Valentine. There's a lot of people who vacation there and like go floating down the river, which I found out for the first time when I was here. Like they have a ton of tourists in Valentine that go there just to like float down the river, which is interesting. But back to the Pines course, it plays along the Snake River Canyon, which like drops 200 feet down from like the edge. So some of these holes play up pretty close to the canyon edge, but none of them are like directly on the canyon edge. You can kind of see it on these canyon holes, but the course plays through all these pines, and half of the holes are essentially on some more gentle sand hills and rolling dunesland, and then the other half are kind of pushed up against this canyon, playing in and out of the pine trees. And then also at Prairie Club, the horse course. This place is really cool. It's kind of this choose your own adventure style golf course where there's 10 greens and just short grass everywhere. There's no like explicit routing. There is like flag numbers on the flags, and there's kind of a certain way you can play it, but you could like create anything you could ever imagine. It's really cool. Some really, really cool greens and really fun to play.
A Jeff Shackelford design. Yeah. Honestly, a legend. Jeff Shackelford's such a legend, and this concept is amazing.
It's perfect.
Like when you talk about like innovative golf concepts that nobody really talks about, this one to me, like I've always been like, I would say that the main reason that I want to go to the Prairie Club is to see the horse course.
It's really cool, and all the turf at the Prairie Club is fine fescue fairways and then bent grass greens. And it was really firm, really fast when I was out there. Tremendous conditions for playing the low game. So like if you got a group of buddies out on the horse course and just like brought one club or a couple clubs and just played like bump and run, low shots, like you could get really creative and just have an awesome time there. Really cool spot and perfect kind of addition to the two big courses there.
Which big course do you prefer?
Personally, I like the Pines course a little bit better. I think the Dunes course is really fun and has a lot of really cool holes that are really fun to play, but it's just a little bit in your face for like 18 straight holes, which is really fun to go out there and like make the journey out to see a really unique golf course. And it's a lot of fun, but I really like the routing of the Pines and how it kind of takes you out, starts out in the sand hills, and then you dip into the trees and kind of in and out. And it feels a little bit more of like a journey when you're on that golf course.
God, I can't believe we still have 4 courses to go.
Yep.
So, or 11 courses. We have 3 courses to go, right?
The 3.
The horse course snuck in. Yeah, horse course snuck in there. 10 greens to play to. That's a course. All right. So we're on from the Prairie Club. Are we staying in? Is it Valentine or Valentine?
It's
Valentine.
I'm fairly certain that is the correct pronunciation. But there's several hotels in Valentine. As I said, like a lot of tourists go up there in the summer. There's a big lake just south of Valentine that's pretty popular, and then a lot of kind of like natural state park areas, wildlife refuges, which is cool.
I don't want to out somebody. I think this is fairly, but I think one of the architects of a golf course up there likes it so much that they have a house.
That would be correct.
So it's that speaks to, this is a a person that could have houses, anywhere. They love the beauty so much of it that they
Yeah,
have a house
this
there.
Valentine region's really cool. It almost feels like you're in a national park almost. It's such a unique setting with like the Snake River Canyon, the dunes, all the pine trees, the wildlife. It's a really cool area. So this next
Have you ever done like hikes or
I have
anything out
not
there?
done any. I've mostly played golf when I'm in the area. Um, but
All
I mean,
right.
you could. I know. Kyle Hagelin, the superintendent at Sand Hills, has told quite a few stories about the Snake River Canyon and potentially getting attacked by a rattlesnake. But that's a story for another day. So I stayed with a buddy. One of the interns that I worked with at Sand Hills when I was out there is now the assistant superintendent at Caprock Ranch. So I stayed with him and went to Caprock Ranch the next day. You can actually see Caprock Ranch from Prairie Club and vice versa. They're that close to each other. They're basically bordering each other. The entrance road to the Prairie Club basically splits them. Um, but the Caprock Ranch course is also a very new design. It opened in 2021. That was the year that I was out at Sandhills, and I got to see it right after it opened when it was just an infant. But going back was really cool. It's matured a lot. The turf conditions are incredible. Really great job done there by Mike and their crew. But this is a world class golf course. It has an amazing routing that takes you in and out of the sand dunes and then up against the Snake River Canyon. And oh, yeah,
Huge
enormous
canyon.
200-foot drop. But all these holes are pressed right up against the canyon, as close as you could possibly get golf holes to them. So it's really in play and makes for some extremely dramatic holes. I think four of the five par threes on the course are along the canyon and make for some really epic golf shots that you're either hitting alongside or over this deep chasm. But the course itself is just incredible. It's extremely well routed, very walkable, and a really really fun golf course to play. And now they have all their lodging and stuff in there, pushed up against the canyon, a huge putting green, and it's just a really fun place to go play golf. And then from there, we go up to the town of Valentine. So Prairie Club and Caprock Ranch are about 20 minutes south of the town. And in town, there's a course that was built in 2017 called Frederick Peak. It is a 10-hole golf course designed by Tom Lehman, who also did the Dunes course at Prairie Club. Yeah,
Tommy Dockers.
but this is like a amazing community like golf course. It's always packed with locals. I think like the creation of this course like made the people in the town like love the game of golf. When I was there was like every type of person you could imagine. I saw like high school girls golf team practicing on the practice area, dude like in his work clothes, like probably working on the cattle ranch that day in his blue jeans and like a very dirty, like shaggy shirt. Like you get all types of players out here, and the course plays over some really cool land. It's very severe. It's not really sand hills, like the rolling kind of prairie grass covered dunes that the rest of the courses are in, but it is a sandy site and it has some cool land movement. Um, it plays kind of up along this high ridge line and then plummets down. And there's three holes down below in this kind of lower section. There's some really,
That's the par three you
yeah. So
always
the
see a
fifth
picture of,
hole
right?
is this awesome short par three. I think it plays like 170 yards, is the actual yardage, but you're only hitting like a pitching wedge or something. It drops well over 100 feet straight down. Really cool golf hole. And then there's two more holes that play down there, and then you kind of climb back up this hill and play a few holes down the stretch. But the eighth hole is technically the bonus hole, and it's this really cool short little par three that's tucked on this little kind of like peninsula on the edge of this cliff. And that's a really neat golf hole. But this is just an awesome place to go play. Um,
How much did that
I'm not
cost?
sure the exact price of it, but I know it's very affordable. Certainly less than probably $40 to play the 10-hole course there. Um, the one downside is it's pretty unwalkable because of how severe the land you play over is, and that big kind of drop from the top four holes, and then 9 and 10 are up top, and then the rest are down below. So you can't really walk there, but nonetheless, it's a really fun place to go play golf and some really fun golf holes. And
What was
then the
next?
final stop on the tour was a trip back to where I worked, Sandhills Golf Club. Basically, the course that started it all and laid the path for all of these courses I just talked about to be built and made. Yeah,
Except
Mullen
for
is
Mullen.
the OG.
Arguably Sandhills
Yeah,
Sandhills followed
exactly.
Mullen 60 years later.
But yeah, I mean, I don't think Sandhills needs much of a description. Most people know about it. It's one of the greatest golf courses in the world. Um,
What one question I have for you. So you spent a ton of time at Sandhills, like more than most people. Did you pick anything up? Was there one thing that you had never thought about Sandhills this time around that when you played it, where you're like, "Huh, that was pretty cool"?
um, I don't know if there was a specific thing that I picked up exactly, but every time you go back, like I start to like just like appreciate it more and more. Like I already knew it was. It's like it's probably my favorite golf course in the world. Just because I got so intimate with it and got to learn all the quirks and details about it. But every time you play, like you notice maybe one small little thing, like oh, like this pin right here is really really hard to get to unless you get over here, and small things like that on how to play certain holes to certain pins. But the thing that like I take away most is how incredible the routing is. It is easily the best routing out of any of the courses in the Sandhills. It just plays over like the most dramatic land it can without being too strenuous or making you feel like you're like hiking a mountain. After like playing, like after I played, I felt refreshed. Like I was like so excited after finishing. Like I didn't even feel like I had just walked 18 holes. And it just plays over such incredible landscape. And the journey it puts you on, the front nine is kind of more intimate and all pretty close together. And the back nine is the big out and back loop, which is really cool. And it's just an unbelievable golf course, and I'll always cherish my time that I get to spend out there when I go back.
Um, I it's extraordinary. I love that place. So with this, there's two courses that you didn't hit that you've played a number of
Yeah.
times in the Sandhills that are public courses, Bayside and Wild Horse, which are both awesome
Hmm.
golf courses. They are excellent
Yep.
Proctor designs on kind of in different areas. One's in Gothenburg, which is kind of more east, and one in Ogallala, which is way west. It's probably the closest course
Correct.
to Denver in the
Yeah.
Nebraska Sandhills. My question to you, as someone now that's seen all the public golf courses in the Sandhills, how would you build a trip through the Sandhills? What sequence, which courses would you include? Say somebody wanted to dive in and do a
Hmm.
week-long trip. How would you navigate them? Fly into Omaha or Denver? Which one would you do? Denver's probably the easier
Yeah, I
one,
think
right?
it just depends on which side of the country you're coming from. I know I was just out on Long Island with a member of Sandhills, and they used to always go into Denver from New York, but now they do Omaha because I guess they just like the shorter flight. It's about the same drive. It's like 4.5 hours from either Denver or Omaha to get to like Mullen, which is kind of the central point of this entire trip. But the great thing is that there's several courses right along I-80. So if you're on a road trip through the country, you could just stop and play one of them if you want, or you can set up your trip around it. So if you're coming from the east, you're going to want to stop at Awari Dunes first. And something I forgot to mention, there's a course north of Awari Dunes in the town of Danenbrog. And this course is a 9-hole golf course with sand greens. So it's a really, really unique experience. You could play those two courses on your first day if you wanted. One of the holes at Danenbrog is a sand green with a grain silo around the perimeter of it, and it's like 4 or 5 feet high. So you have to hit it over the grain silo wall to get onto the green. And just playing sand greens is such a unique experience. It's a once in a lifetime thing. There's very few golf courses left in the world, and I believe there's 2 or 3 in the state of Nebraska. But I've only played Dannebrog. That's a really fun one to go see, and fairly close to Awari Dunes. So you could do those two in a day, and then the next course west from there would be Wild Horse, which we've highlighted multiple times, done a video on, and I think it's probably the greatest value golf course in America without a doubt. It's $75 is the peak rate you can pay to play there. And the superintendent, Josh Mahar, is one of the best in the entire business. He has that golf course absolutely dialed all months out of the year, extremely firm and fast. That makes that design really shine. So that is a must-play golf course.
I think it's one of the 10 best public golf courses in America.
No doubt.
Full stop. Like, and people think I'm crazy for this, but like, I'd rather play it than a couple courses at Bandon. I'd rather play it than I think maybe any course at Streamsong. I love the courses at Streamsong. I think I'd rather play it than any course at Pinehurst, except for number 2. Maybe some days I'd rather play it than number 2. I've had thoughts that if I had 10 rounds between it and Sand Hills, that I might play Wild Horse more because I enjoy the walk is so gentle and nice. Like I think it's a better everyday golf course than Sand Hills.
It's definitely like
I love
Wild
this
Horse
place.
is amazing. The land is much more gentle. Like I said before, it's pretty close to I-80, and that's kind of where the Sand Hills, big dunes kind of start to taper off once you get down to I-80. So it's right there, and it's on this much more gentle terrain. But like you said, it's a tremendous walk. There's nothing like crazy in your face, like very bold, like some of the other courses like Dismal River White or the Dunes course at Prairie Club. But it's just 18 extremely well thought out and well designed golf holes, and it's just a must play. They also have lodging on site, so if you want to get a group of buddies and go stay there and play 36 holes, they have a couple I believe they're 8-person cabins, so you can pack some people in there and spend a lot of time there for a really good budget trip.
And I think one of the hard things about this trip is that people might feel overwhelmed is about lodging. But if you did those Awari Dunes and the Sand Greens, then you get to Gothenburg, stay at Wild Horse if they're available. There's other hotels there. Play in Gothenburg, and then where do you go from
also, one
there?
thing to note is Awari Dunes is just south of the town of Kearney, and there's several hotels there. There's a really big like Marriott hotel and like conference center. So there's some great accommodations there and places to eat and whatnot. So that's a good place to stay. From there, North Platte is a really great central hub for this trip too. Multiple hotel options and food options. There's a really great brewery.
I stayed there when I was driving across the country. Peg Leg Brewing.
That one, and Pal's Brewery is a great one. But yeah, from North Platte, there's multiple ways you can go. So Bayside is west of there, probably about an hour, and that's kind of similar to these I-80 courses where they're right on the edge of the Sand Hills. And Bayside's, I wouldn't really consider it that stereotypical Sand Hills, like sand dunes kind of land, but it's very dramatic. It has some smaller dune stuff on the front 9, and the back 9 plays over these massive ridge lines that feed down towards Lake McConaughey, which is the huge lake that the course plays right up against.
Having driven all the way through the Sand Hills, That's kind of where the Sandhills stop
just
in
about.
a way.
When you're that far south and west, they kind of taper out. But north, if you went 50 miles north of Bayside, there's still sandhills there. It's mostly that entire central region of Nebraska is all sandhills. And then you can stay in North Platte if you're going to the 4 9-hole courses, which is like an easy day trip to do. So I would stay in North Platte. That's honestly like a really great place if you wanted to do this whole trip. You could just stay there for all of it, and you're never going to drive more than like 90 minutes to any of these courses. The furthest one would be Awari from North Platte, which is like just over an hour and a half, I think, right at an hour and a half. But you could go up from North Platte and do the same way that I went. You go North Platte to Stapleton, Stapleton to Thedford, Thedford to Mullen, and then Mullen to Hyannis. And then this is where things start to get a little dicey on accommodations. You're in the heart of the Sandhills. There's
I've stayed at the Sandhills Motel. It was delightful.
That's your only option.
I liked it.
That's your only
I enjoyed
option,
it.
really.
I loved it. It was delightful. It wasn't tanking season, so it wasn't that busy. And I was in luck. I loved it. I got a pizza and beer from the 24-hour gas station, and I was a happy boy.
That's basically your only place to stay in Mullen, unless you're staying on the property at Sandhills. But the Sandhills Motel is a delightful little place in the town of Mullen, and it really gives you the true experience of Mullen.
True Mullen.
And then Valentine's kind of your other hub from there. You can stay in the town of Valentine and make the 20-minute drive to Prairie Club, or you could stay on property at Prairie Club. They have a fair amount of lodging there. But there's multiple hotels up in Valentine that you can stay at.
And then you play Frederick Peak and the three Prairie Club courses, and I mean that's a lot of golf. It's really cheap, and your big ticket items are Prairie Club.
Yeah, that's going to be probably the most expensive public option. The rest are extremely affordable.
Everything else is sub 100, and most are probably sub.
Yeah, so
sub 40.
All the 9-hole courses are just honesty box courses where you just write your name on a ticket, slip your cash in, and slide it into a box. There's no pro shops. There's no one kind of managing the courses besides the caretaker of the course. So it's
not your trip if you're looking to pick up sick merch.
There's no merch to be had at these courses besides a scorecard and a pencil. But all those 4 courses are all $20 or less to play, and that gets you golf for the whole day. So if you wanted to play at one of these courses just the entire day, $20, play as much golf as you want. So that's a really cool thing.
So good. I love a good honesty
the thing
box.
about it too is that like these courses, a lot of them are maintained by people who do it like as volunteer work, just to like have this asset for the community. A lot of the people in this region love golf and they cherish their golf courses. So if you're visiting these courses, I would urge you to maybe spend a little bit extra on your greens fee and err on the higher side. And slip them some extra bucks as kind of a donation to help their efforts to maintain the golf course. Because if a harsh winter comes through, they're likely going to lose a lot of their grass, and the course is going to take a beating, and they're going to need all the help they can get to bring it back. But luckily this year, like amazing weather conditions for the winter and early spring, and all these courses were absolutely money, just perfect conditions for how low of a budget that they use.
That's a great trip. I would like to make it one day. I had always thought about doing this exact venture that you went on. I'm part jealous, part happy for you. Very happy for you. All right, last question. If you had 10 rounds and you wanted to split it between all the Sandhills, how are you dividing 10 rounds?
Man, that's a tough one. I'm gonna have to omit some of the courses.
Well, that's the thing. That's why it's a hard question. That's what we ask on this podcast. Nothing but hard balls or fastballs.
I'd probably go 2 rounds at Sandhills, 2 rounds at Wild Horse, 2 rounds at Caprock Ranch.
All right, you got 4
and then
rounds
I'd play
left.
Augusta Winds once. I would play.
How about you can put 2 9-holes together for a round. I'm not gonna take away 9 holes. So you could say I'm gonna play this twice and it counts as one.
I would probably then play Augusta Wind, Pelican Beach together as 1 round. So I got 3 rounds left. I'd play Dismal Red once, the Tom Doak design. I would play
2 rounds.
I would play
left.
Bayside once for sure. I love that place. You should never pass up that course if you're driving by.
This is interesting advice for our colleagues, Cameron and Garrett.
You'll never hear the end of that one.
Never going to hear it. They forced me to drive to the Denver airport. To be fair, we didn't have time to play, but we had enough time to pull in, look around for a bit.
And then 2 horses left. I think I'd probably tack on another round at Sandhills to make it 3.
All right, 3. There you go. I thought when he said 2, I was kind of like, is he going to come back for more? I
can't get enough of Sandhills. I never leave that place without a huge smile on my face. It's one of the best places in the world. And then my final round, I'd probably go with the Prairie Club Pines course. I enjoy that place a lot.
There it is. Matt's 10 rounds.
Tough exercise. There's a lot of good golf. You could go to any one of these courses just one time and you won't be dissatisfied. It's truly a really unique place, and you play a lot of golf courses that you've probably never seen anywhere else in the world. So I highly recommend going if you just want to make a few stops along the trip that I did, or go to one of the areas, or if you're just passing through on I-80 on a cross-country road trip. There's a lot of different options for playing these golf courses in the Sandhills.
Awesome. All right, Matt, great trip. And there'll be a bunch more content on our various channels, whether it be YouTube, Club TFE, the public website, maybe the newsletter, but really fun to talk to you about this trip and a couple weeks of your life the last 2 weeks. Long Island to Sandhills is about the biggest departure you could make.
An incredible 2 weeks, but thanks for having me on. Excited to talk about the Sandhills anytime.
All right, big thanks to Matt. Let's kick it over to Mike Cunniff, superintendent at Clear Creek Tahoe. I gotta ask you, I would say that you're an expert on this.
Sure.
Would you consider what region of the country would you consider where we are right now?
I think technically it's southwest, but Mountain West. Yeah.
What? Not the Pacific Northwest.
No, I wouldn't say that. You're starting the podcast with some quizzes.
No. I like to call this part of the Pacific Northwest.
Yeah, I guess. I mean, it's close enough.
It's close enough,
yeah,
right?
That's fine.
What is the Mountain West? What is the climate here? What is that like?
We pretty much get sunny days, April through October, and literally 0 rain. So most of the precipitation that we get falls as snow. An occasional rain shower in October, maybe April, May, a touch of rain, but it was odd moving here. It was kind of like Groundhog Day coming from the East Coast, where it rained all the time and it was doom and gloom. So I would say May 1st to the beginning of October is sunny and, 80, 85 degrees every single day.
So Bill and Ben were just out here. It was the first time they were here in 10 years?
I think it was 5 or 6. since we held the Coore Crenshaw Cup, I don't know, 2017, 2018. So yeah, it'd been a pretty good amount of time.
What was it like? You spent a long time walking the golf course with them. What did you take away from that experience?
It's always great to just have those guys back, just to know that, you're headed in the right direction and, being the caretaker of their golf course, always a little apprehensive when Bill and Ben come back to town for sure. But no, it was really cool. I mean, we spent Saturday, I think we started at 9 and, we walked around and looked at, 5 or 6 holes. And then, I thought they were pressed for time. I was like, do you guys want to break for lunch or something? And they're like, no, we want to grab a hot dog at the turn and we want to look at every single hole here. So that was pretty cool. I mean, they still have a tremendous pride of ownership in it. And, they're just really interested to see like how the golf course evolves throughout the years.
I heard they were telling stories from construction.
Yeah.
Did you have a favorite one that stood out?
I don't know. I can't really remember any specifically. They talked about like which one of their shapers, or their associates, I guess they're called, shaped each hole. So some of those were pretty cool. I think the one that kind of sticks out is when Bill Coore was first brought here with our original ownership to take a look at the golf course. They're coming up this mountain grade and, they hadn't done a lot of mountain golf courses before. And, they showed Bill the lake and he's like, okay, cool. It's Lake Tahoe. That's pretty, but where's the golf course? And then, they start to come down these mountain passes and Bill's like losing interest. Like he's like, there's no way we could find a good golf course here in all this crazy terrain and elevation change. So that one was pretty interesting to hear, but when he finally made it to the site, he started to see a little bit of potential. And then I guess he ended up walking around for the next 5 or 6 days straight and was really intrigued once he finally got here. So.
Yeah, I feel like when you drive in, it's you come over that pass and I kind of felt the same way. I was like, and you see Carson City down and it's like dead flat.
Yeah, it's dead flat.
And I'm kind of like, where is this course going to be? And you like pull off. I mean, like you pull off the mountain pass, like you're still on the mountain pass.
Right.
Yeah. And you pull off and then you're right here. But you drive in, like to me, the first thing that you're like, oh, this might be really cool is you see that meadow
right
on your right that's just sitting there completely, there's no golf holes on it. And it's like, oh, I could see golf holes here.
Yeah, definitely. I think that's what Bill said the other day too. He mentioned seeing that meadow, which I think that's where they filmed Bonanza. I'm a little too young for that show, but if anybody recalls Bonanza, he's like, oh, that's cool. That would make a nice par 3 in there. I think that was Bill's original thought in that meadow. So
how would you describe how they routed it? Like what the unique challenges of getting 18 holes on the land that the golf course is now?
I think that elevation drop that you saw it last night from the third hole, that 200-foot elevation drop from the tee to the green was a key to the routing for them for sure. I'm pretty sure though they had carte blanche to kind of pick the golf course before any of the home lots were picked out or designated. So, but I know that was a challenge, like how to take people from the highest part of the property to the lowest, all in one hole, and still try to keep the golf course somewhat walkable. So,
yeah, when I was out here last night, I was thinking about I think I'm not I would say I'm not a mountain golf expert, but to me, the tricky aspect of mountain golf and what maybe stands out the most to me about this place is how like supremely walkable it is despite being mountain golf.
Yeah.
And how the holes blend together, short tee to green walks. And that one was the thing that stood out to me, like 3 drops, 200 feet. I had it on my drone. I had it at 160 meters. So I was curious.
Wow.
Or 160 meters, which, was I was curious what the exact elevation. But then, I think you can't go up 180, 200 feet.
No.
But you could go up 200 feet over the course of 4 holes.
Right.
The way it does.
Yeah.
And it gets you back up there. But it does it in a really dramatic and unique way. Each hole, it doesn't feel like you're playing just straight uphill for 4 holes.
Right.
Which is the key to the whole thing. Because then you have it's such a cool property where you have like that front nine feels really mountainy.
Right.
But then on the back nine, you get back into that beautiful meadow.
Yeah,
and
it's pretty flat and open back there. Yeah.
I mean, that to me is like, it's about as beautiful of golf ground as you can get.
No, it really is. I think, they really lucked out with this property. It's mountain enough, but, we're kind of sit on this bench or this saddle between the two mountain peaks, so we have one or two pretty dramatic holes that you would typically find with mountain golf, just enough, but just, it's flat enough where you can keep it walkable and playable.
What would you say, like, in terms of, you talked a little bit about the climate, but like, what are the challenges that the property presents for maintenance?
There's a lot of challenges. I think one, we kind of already touched on it, was the weather. Being near Lake Tahoe, we don't get as much snow as right in the basin does, but I think just the short growing season is a challenge. And then, the unpredictable nature of the weather, we just never know what we're going to get for a winter. We've had winters where we get 100 inches of snow, which is pretty mild, 2-3 feet around the golf course for most of the winter. And then, we've had a couple doozies where we've gotten a couple 100 inches and just been buried until April 15th, and you're supposed to open in 2 weeks, and you're looking at some of the greens that have, what year was it? Not last year, the year before, we were measuring snow depths and we had 70 inches on the 15th green, in the middle of March. And we're like, how are we going to open this golf course?
How do you even get around?
You really don't. Snowshoes. I mean, occasionally we'll take the snowblower out on our skid steer and, clear a path. But most of the time it's just, getting as close as we can in trucks and then hoofing it in there to take a look at the golf course.
So with 70 inches on a green,
yeah,
what do you do?
A lot of times we get out there in the wintertime and we'll start clearing it, take a few feet off of it just to get it down. And that's kind of a fraction what some of the other Tahoe guys get, like the Truckee golf courses. They can have, 10, 15 feet out there. So we usually try to get ahead of it and start peeling the snow off the greens at least.
What's like the nightmare of winter here? Is it the heavy snow or is it like a lack of snow? Do you have to worry about, like, I know like in some extreme climates, like say the Nebraska Sand Hills, like the nightmare is the desecration potential of no moisture.
Right. Yeah, we've seen that in the past before too. My first few years here, but like 2013, 2014 were pretty dry, where we only had a touch of snow and the golf course sat pretty open all winter. And we've had to turn on the irrigation system in, the middle of February and run a week or so of cycles to keep the place hydrated. The nightmare situation is when you get those late snows, February, March, and you just, continue to get pounded with feet of snow. Those are the nightmare situations.
Like the last couple of years?
Yeah, like the last couple of years. Yeah. 2022, I think. No, sorry. Last year was a brutal year, 23. We just had so much dead grass in fairways. We had to push our opening back and communicate to our membership. I mean, they know. A lot of them live here, and people that live in the Bay Area, they know how much snow and precipitation Tahoe got. So just try to manage that expectation level that we're going to open a little bit late this year. So
when is, like, to you, the prime time for golf in the Sierra Mountains?
The summertime's fantastic. We never get too hot. But for me, the prime time's September, October. You cool down into the 70s or low 80s and you get those nice crisp nights. Greens are just running super fast with almost no effort. And just those beautiful fall days out here, I think are the best to me.
What in terms of like growing grass here, you have to be it's got to be a really short window. Because, yeah. I mean, even now it's middle of August when we're recording this. Mm-hmm. You're getting low temperatures. I saw this week could get down to even in the 30s. Yeah.
No, it's definitely a challenge. I mean, coming out of spring, you might have some warm days where, people think, oh, it's golf season, let's go. But you're still, stuck in the 30s every night. Sometimes we don't hit peak growing season until middle of June, 4th of July, where we really see active growth and we're mowing every day. So it's a challenge to pull it out of spring sometimes.
You moved from Massachusetts out here. What was the transition from the Northeast to the mountain town like, personally and professionally?
That's a good question. I mean, it was fun. I mean, it was, I think I was 30. We had no kids, and, I just convinced my wife to move 3,000 miles. I mean, we had heard of Lake Tahoe and what it was, but I actually had to Google it. I had no idea what it was. So it was pretty neat moving out here from the East Coast. I mean, granted, the golf courses on the East Coast and where I worked was really beautiful, but the weather's probably been the biggest change. It's just so nice to come and, see the sun every single day. But that's also a challenge too, because every single day is productive. Like, there's really never a down day where, you send people home because of rain. So, the season can kind of get a little long in that regards.
I noticed that I really miss rain days.
Yeah, totally. And when it's windy here, we always joke around. We would much rather have it be rainy than windy. The wind can just kind of beat you down from time to time. But, it was interesting. We've enjoyed our time on the West Coast. We lived right outside of Boston before, so it was really fast paced. But no, it's been a nice change of pace moving to the West Coast, and I like growing grass out here for sure.
So you were working at Old Sandwich, and you came on at Growin.
Yeah.
What was it like seeing a golf course before it opened, and then being able to have that experience of the last push of Growin into opening? And what did you gain as a young superintendent from that?
That was a super fun time. I think Growins are special because, obviously you get to see the golf course, start from square one. Obviously, I wasn't there for the shaping and the irrigation install, but we took a premature golf course and got to see the evolution of it, move all the way through. So the grow-ins are super fun. I mean, you're like a farmer. There's no golf out there. There's no early tee times. It's just all about growing grass and, constructing the place. And then, when membership starts to play and you open, the whole scene changes. Now you got to worry about early tee times and green speed and, pin locations and all the stuff that kind of becomes monotonous after some point. But, the construction and the project side of it is what I've really enjoyed it in the past and still do today. I still like the construction aspect of it.
What appeals to you about the construction aspect?
I just think all of it. I think the work is really fun. It's nice to watch the evolution of a golf course just start from square one, and see those features develop over time and mature from, planting grass into a fully established golf course. It's just a unique experience.
You have had a young superintendent that moved to Brambles, and Tyler, and he, went into a Growin. What type of advice did you give him when he took that job? And have you? I assume you guys generally stay in touch. What's that been like? Kind of, have you been living vicariously through his experience there?
Yeah, definitely live vicariously through his experience. I think I just told him to be patient, that things don't happen in a day, and, it's going to take 2-3 years for you to be happy with the results, kind of manage your expectation levels going into a Growin like that.
You've been here for 12 years.
Yeah.
I think like one of the interesting aspects of the superintendent world is this idea of you start to cultivate talented young superintendents that move on. Your job is to nurture and educate and develop young talent in the industry that eventually leaves.
Right.
What's it been like watching, you all of a sudden have, people all over the place?
Yeah.
And, what's that experience like?
It's super cool. I mean, when you're a young superintendent, you're trying to do everything yourself. You're working yourself sun up to sundown. So it's just fun to find these young guys that are super talented and just have such drive and determination. Like Tyler was fantastic. Sean Gorman, who works for us now, is unbelievable as well. It's just nice to watch them grow as individuals. And, I think I got pretty good at it. It took a long time as a young superintendent to let go of the responsibility and, break away from doing all the tasks yourself and kind of set people free. But, I think giving them a large part of responsibility in managing the crew and just letting them make decisions on their own. And, they really feel like they've built the program here. So that's been I don't know if you'd call it liberating, but I think it's just been a key to success.
I feel like, to me, that I was talking with a group of younger superintendents last week at a Toro event, and to me, that is where young superintendents trip up maybe the most, is where they're unable to, not do the work themselves. And there's so much more power in allowing other people to do it, because you can't be everywhere on a 160 acre, 200 acre, whatever the acreage that you have to maintain at your course.
Right. And, it's hard to break away. I mean, you, as an assistant or an intern, you grow up doing all those tasks, like doing the top dressing, doing the mowing, doing the projects. And then when you transition to superintendent, it's hard to break away from that stuff into a more managerial role, especially when you have 25, 30 plus people on your staff. Eventually you just have to succumb to it and put faith in other people. But, I think that's what really builds your staff and your depth in your staff, is when you give them a huge chunk of responsibility and let them run with it.
What's been your most successful kind of managerial revelation? Like, what's been do you have any moments where you feel like a light bulb went off with managing people here?
Yeah, I think, back to what I just said, when I broke away from being so involved in the day-to-day operations, I think that was a big change for me.
Was there a moment that, like, you let go of something? Like, do you remember a specific moment?
I don't know, maybe when I started to have kids and mature a little bit, when I just realized that, I say it to Sean sometimes too, like, I kind of just realized, like, you have way less control than you think you have, and eventually you just have to let go and just know that it's going to work out.
I agree. Like, kids are kind of a life changer. The way you think about staff and people and everything changes so much, I feel like.
Yeah, totally. I think if you hire the right people and you set the expectation level from the beginning, and just set that bar and let your staff run with it, that's where we've had the best results.
This, you obviously have a short window of golf here, and I think the superintendent industry, one of the biggest challenges is work-life balance, where, you've got a short window. Everybody wants to play golf.
Yeah.
And you could conceivably work sun up to sundown every day.
Yeah.
How do you go about balancing your time on and off of the golf course, and as well as your staff?
Yeah, it's a great question. That's hard to do. I can't say I've ever perfected it. I think every year we go back to the drawing board with schedules and, days off and trying to program in, time away from the golf course. But, with a short season, you eat, sleep, and breathe it. So I think it's just the best way to go about it is just, when you leave the property, just try to leave it all behind you and, program in as many mini vacations and 2-3 day off spurts as you can. We've kind of gotten in the habit of breaking away for, 5-6 days in the middle of the summer or beginning of August, just to kind of reset the bar a little bit, before we finish the home stretch and encourage our employees to do that too. Right around the 4th of July, you start to see everybody just kind of melting out. April and May are always the toughest months. It would seem easy, but you're trying to start a golf course or open a golf course. And, we usually have 25 or 30 days to do everything, all our spring cultural practices, all our bunker modifications and adding sand and all that. So by the 4th of July, everybody's pretty dead dog tired.
Where have been your favorite places to take a break?
For like vacations?
Yeah.
I think some of my best vacations have been, we love Canada. It's always fun to just go there. Anywhere with a beach or, the ocean. My wife loves the ocean, so we've kind of gravitated towards Hawaii just because it used to be too far from the East Coast, and now it's only a 5-hour flight. So we find ourselves there more often than not.
It's a good spot.
Yeah.
I think one of the most stunning aspects of this golf course is the native grasses and just kind of the visual aesthetic that you guys have cultivated here. Can you describe the native here, what makes it unique, and what goes into maintaining it?
Sure. So most of the native here is pine trees, Jeffreys and ponderosas, and then underneath that, there's a lot of sage and bitterbrush and a few native grasses. Some of them we've planted, some of them have moved in on themselves. I think the hardest part of maintaining it is just to make it look like we haven't done anything to it. We can't really go mow it down, or we can't really take a tractor in there. So sometimes we joke that like 50% of our time is spent, clearing native. I was actually joking with Bill the other day about Pinehurst, and we went there and played golf I think it was a year ago. We saw those guys 150 yards off the playing corridors in the woods. And we're just kind of joking because that's kind of what we end up doing here too. It's a lot of hand picking of sage, all handwork, raking to make it look, well, one, playable. It's no fun to lose a golf ball all day long. And two, just to keep that natural look to it, like we didn't do anything.
You're having to train up your staff on what plant you want to keep, what you want to get rid of.
Yeah.
Is that a challenging aspect of it, is just people understanding what to keep and what to get rid of?
No, our guys have been really good at it. We used to do it with mini excavators. We tried that for a few years, and then ultimately we just figured out that the best way to do it was to send a group of guys out there to just attack a hole by hand. That's where we've had the best results. I think the hardest part about keeping the native in good shape is managing the traffic, keeping carts out of it, whether it's our staff carts or member carts, and just trying to not to get, trails built in or, all this cool looking native all trampled down. That's been a hard aspect to manage.
The member carts, I can speak from experience. They're aggressive with stopping you. I was trying to get on some maintenance trails last night, and it was making me reverse out.
Yeah, it's pretty funny.
So I think the member carts are pretty dialed in.
Yeah, our pros done a good job of the geofencing. So,
are you guys responsible for? The entire property is what, about 1,600 acres?
I think the whole property is 2,100 acres.
2,100.
Yeah, 25 if you include the ranch down below us.
Are you responsible for all of the property?
No. So the golf course sits on about 150 acres, and then we do a lot of landscaping for the club at all the different entities or amenities. And then we do a couple things for the HOA and some snow removal.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I was curious. I saw that there were like trails and stuff, and I was curious what like trail maintenance is versus golf course maintenance.
Yeah, that's right. We do the trail maintenance too. That's a super fun part of the job.
What goes into maintaining a trail?
It's not too bad. It was fun building them. We hired a guy years ago who built this awesome trail network. We have the Clear Creek Trail, and then we have the Headwaters Trail and our Overlook Trail behind the first tee. And just we've continued to add on to it through the years. So there's a pretty nice, I forget what the mileage is. It's probably 15, 20 miles of trails. The maintenance isn't too bad, now that we have more people living here, so they get used quite a bit more. At first, it was pretty difficult because nobody was walking them, and we'd have to go out and keep them clear. But mainly it's just bucking up trees and occasional raking certain spots.
What did you talk with the guy that built the trails, and like what went into the philosophy of building a trail? As someone who hikes and runs trails somewhat regularly, I've always been curious, like how someone goes about building a trail.
I don't know how he did it. I mean, I thought he was an incredibly interesting guy who built all the trails through here. He would literally leave at 7:00 in the morning and go out with, a shovel and a pick and come back 10 hours later. And he would move, he would hand dig the whole entire trail himself. I think he would just look at the maps, like the topo maps, and try to keep the grade walkable, for most of it. And just miraculously, he just wiggled his way through all these mountain peaks out here. It was pretty neat.
What a wild job.
Yeah, it was a pretty wild job.
I mean, it's not that much different than golf architecture if you think about the trail and like what you're trying to achieve, right? You're trying to show diversity of landscapes. Like you're trying to make it visually interesting. You're trying to make it a really easy to navigate walk.
Yeah.
Like, and you have to bring it back to the same point a lot of times. Like obviously there are out trails. I've like always thought about writing something about trail, like how they mirror building a golf course.
Yeah, no, they definitely do. That guy who did it for us, Jeremy, he definitely had a special knack for it. I was impressed.
There's an architecture to it.
No, there is. There certainly is.
I was curious what like your native soils are like here, because they look a little sandy. I know they probably aren't. They're like gravelly, right?
Yeah, I mean, I think
rock?
If you looked at the specific classification, it's classified as a sandy loam, but it's basically DG, decomposed granite soils. Mm-hmm. So,
what's that like? I mean, what's that like? How is that different from, say, a Midwest soil or what you were dealing with at Old Sandwich?
It's been a lot different. It's not the best soil to grow grass in. Let's put it that way. It's pretty compacted and just slow draining. Old Sandwich was definitely a lot easier. I'll admit that. I mean, we sat on, 100 feet of beach sand at Old Sandwich that was pretty well drained. So it's provided some unique challenges in growing grass for sure.
You came from Old Sandwich, which is all golf.
Yep.
Came here, which is golf with houses.
Yep.
What are there considerations that you have with maintaining golf with houses?
Yeah, it's been different. Old Sandwich had no homes and we had no real estate factor. We're here, the homes are, the first few years there was really nothing, which was basically the same as Old Sandwich, but now we have, a lot of homes scattered throughout the golf course. So it's been not too much of a challenge. Most of the homeowners are pretty understanding that, there's 8:00 tee times every day. We got to start at 5. So we've gotten a few complaints over the years. But no, I think, it's in the back of your mind that, yes, we're a golf course, but we're also trying to provide an amenity that's, driving real estate sales. It's always top of mind.
With Clear Creek, you were on staff as you went through an ownership change.
Yep.
What's that like from a superintendent role when you're kind of going through, when you're in that in-between phase and adjusting to new ownership? What kind of experience was that like, and what would you say to someone that was going through that?
Yeah, it's a good question. When I was hired in 2012 with that ownership, they definitely had a great vision for the golf course. I think, ultimately they just couldn't pull the whole thing together with the real estate and then had to call in a little bit of help. So our second ownership since then, that started in, I want to say it was 2017. They really pulled the whole place together, put the right infrastructure in place. It was challenging. You always have a little bit of doubt in the back of your mind, if you're going to be successful or not. So I think some advice would just be, keep focused on the product that you're trying to put out, and things will fall into place after that.
What type of infrastructure did they put in place that kind of really helped take it to the next level?
They basically had to put in everything. I mean, roads, gas lines, utility, water lines. Like we basically had to put a whole new water line in from the valley because there was nothing up here. So, I mean, it doesn't seem like it's that remote of a location when you consider, it's adjacent to Carson City and Douglas County, but when you try to put in that infrastructure, we are, 10 miles up in the mountains from there. So that was a unique challenge to start from square one with everything.
Where do you guys source most of your staff from?
Most of our staff comes from Mexico. We use the H-2B visa program. That's been super successful for us. And then a lot of our staff lives in Carson Valley.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
What, in terms of if you could have one innovation in the turf world, what would be the thing that you would want the most? What development would you want to see the most, or do you think will have the biggest impact on the industry in the next 10 to 15 years?
I think the autonomous mowers and the robotics and some of the sensors that we use show a lot of promise. Whether it's autonomous fairway mowers or like some of the sensors that we use to measure moisture readings. I think a lot of it's still, in its adolescence right now, but some of the stuff that we've used is showing a lot of promise that's helped us a lot so far. Like moisture meters on the back of our fairway mowers have been pretty popular. I think we're still fine tuning, what the parameters are for those, but I think the technology is really going to change the game in the next 5 to 10 years.
Does that allow you to, like that stuff, like moisture meter on the back of a fairway mower, does that allow you to, is it staff savings time or optimization in terms of maintenance, and how do you redistribute that time around? Like, how does that kind of process work from when you gain time back or are able to optimize something? How do you redistribute the time?
That's a great question. I think we're seeing it come to life, in real time right now, where all those processes where we, started to measure moisture readings 20 years ago with a TDR, and we would send people out to do that work by hand, or we would just look at the golf course every day and, field observations and make our decisions off that. Now we're using, data to drive all those decisions, which is really going to change the game. Optimization, we have people, instead of, hand watering fairways all day, they're doing something else, instead of, sticking a moisture meter in the ground 500 times throughout the day. We really like the GS3 ball that the USGA has come out with. I think it's building in a data set for us where we just have some predictability of what's going to happen on the golf course. We know what certain practices, what the outlook's going to be in 5 or 10 days now. We know how to manage our plant growth regulator applications, and we know what's going to drive, green speed and, produce the best surfaces out here.
How does that GS3 ball work? How do you use it, and what does it provide you?
We take it out almost every morning, and we measure green speed, firmness, and then smoothness and trueness with it. I think for us, it's taken the guesswork out of a lot of things for us. We know what surfaces or what speeds we're going to get from mowing or, double mowing and rolling. We know what a vertical mowing or a top dressing is now going to do to our smoothness and our trueness factors. With a short season in mountain golf, one of our goals the past few years has just been to kind of maximize our members' time spent here. So say we have 100 days, we're open for 180, but we have 100 days of primetime golf. Our focus has been, okay, let's take those 100 days and let's try to have as minimal amount of disruption as we can and try to put out the best product, 95 of those 100 days, just try to limit the interruptions, for our membership, and being a seasonal club, yes, we have some members that live here full time that play every day, but we might have groups that only come in for, 1 week a year. So really we want to put our best foot forward, every single day of the summer.
What's been the best way for you guys to have that minimal interruption while still providing like as good of playing conditions as you can every day, knowing like you have to have maintenance time, right?
Yeah, no, I mean, you have to do the maintenance. I think we've scaled back our cultural practices over the years. We used to top dress just for example, we'd say, okay, we all grew up top dressing every 2 weeks because that's what someone told us that we should do, for thatch reduction or managing organic matter levels. And then, as like, new data collection has come out with moisture meters, the GS3 ball, OM246. We have a set of data to look at where we know, what the results are going to be now. So now instead of top dressing every 2 weeks, we can push that to, top dressing every single month per se, and just lightening the load during our high peak golf season and achieve the same results.
It's interesting. So like, I was curious with like the idea. I feel like there's superintendents that like to do, they kind of feel everything out, versus then there's very data driven. And basically the data has told you guys that you have to do less than what you would like instinctually do from a maintenance standpoint.
Yeah. I think, history and instinctually you're saying, okay, I need to do these things because we all grew up in the golf industry doing all these things. But now we're able to say, okay, we're going to get the same results, but we're only going to do half of those processes throughout the summer. So it's really been eye-opening. I mean, I think, golf in the future, 5-10 years from now, you're still going to have that art side of it and that feel side of it where you're out there every day, knocking putts or walking on putting greens. But the data's really helped, open our eyes to what's possible.
It's a stunning property. Where's your favorite spot on the property? Do you have a place that kind of every time you're driving by, you have to stop and kind of look around?
That's a great question. I'd say probably just that area right there that we're looking at on the wall, behind 2 green. I probably have 500 photos from that same spot in my phone. Number 13 as well. I'd say it's kind of our signature hole. I probably have 500 photos of that green in my phone. I should go through and delete some of them someday. But yeah, just beautiful vistas from a few key spots here on property.
Yeah, that 13th reminds me a lot of 14 at LACC, actually. The way that hole kind of works, where you have like on the right, you have that fall off, that canyon almost, and the green plays out to like a spectacular infinity edge, and
it's
really similar green shape. It's like a kind of a crazy how similar to me that hole is.
Yeah, it's really cool.
It's it's a stunning property. It's one of the places that you realize like how cool golf in different landscapes can be.
Yeah, and I think 3 tees is right up there as well. I don't know if you stood on 3 tees last night, but I remember being here my first day and just walking out there and just going, wow, this is quite the setting. There's some cool alpine meadows that you look up into and just these tall mountain peaks off in the distance. I always thought that was one of the best looks on the property.
What was it like coming out here as a Northeasterner and like interviewing? I imagine that first experience had to be crazy.
Yeah, it was. I think I was just blown away by the mountain setting. I grew up skiing and loving the winter. But just the drastic landscape and the super tall mountain vistas really appealed to me, coming from New England where we just don't have that dramatic of a landscape, I think. So yeah, that was really unique moving out here.
What's all right, before we wrap this up, we got to get into a little bit of a Tahoe guide. What's your favorite mountain to ski?
Oh, that's a tough question. I love Kirkwood, love Palisades. Yeah, it's probably a toss up between Kirkwood and Palisades.
All right. What's your favorite beach in summertime?
Nah, my favorite beach is probably Whale Beach. Anywhere on the East Shore over there is pretty good. A little bit of a hike down too, but it's worth it.
Yeah. And then what's your must go to like restaurant or food place? I guess that'd be a restaurant.
That's pretty tough. I don't know if we have the greatest restaurants up here. It's probably a taco stand somewhere.
I was noticing that as we've been looking around at places. Not the best. And then favorite hike.
Favorite hike is probably Rifle Peak behind my house in Incline. Yeah. It's like 2,000 or 1,600 vertical with a 1,000 of it in the first mile. So a lot of bang for your buck with that one.
Not one to bring a toddler.
Don't bring your kids on that one. That's a bad idea.
That's great. All right. Mike, big thank you to coming on and talking turf and in your life with us. And congrats on taking care of a really spectacular place here.
Yeah, no, thanks for having me and thanks for coming out. Glad you finally made the trip. So
thank you for listening to another edition of the Fried Egg Golf Podcast. I hope you guys enjoyed the Jumbo Pod. We'll be back next week. We'll probably be talking East Lake on Tuesday, and then who knows what we're going to be doing Thursday. But thank you for listening. Big thanks to PJ Clark for editing. PJ has been just an editing monster here, getting these things on YouTube. If you haven't watched them on YouTube, if you're interested, they're up there. The recent Yoke with Dokes are up there. I think those are particularly good watches. Just legend Tom Doak. Hey, quick reminder: if you're into what we're doing, if that Nebraska Sand Hills thing really piqued your interest, if Mike Cunniff and Clear Creek piques your interest, check out Club TFE. That's for you. It's $120 a year. Goes to support what we do, and what we do is provide a ton of content there. There will be a bunch of Nebraska Sand Hills content on there. There is a profile about Clear Creek that went up last week up there. So check that out, thefriedegg.com/membership. It's $120 a year. You get a ton of content plus other benefits like Pro Shop discounts, early event access, Club TFE only events. That is, we're trying to build that into a great community. So we'd love to have you in there. And if you are a member, big thank you to the support, and I hope you enjoy it. So we'll be back next week. Thanks for listening to another pod. And thanks, PJ.